All right. So here's what we're
The time stretch.
You did not stop. Chris, again. 1, 2, 3. On 3. This is the worst it's gonna be. Okay, so Kurt, here you go. You are on. Please tell us what we're doing.
Welcome to the Idiot Cast. Today is our discussion of the first part of... Wait, it's not the first part.
Andy Weir.
Today is the first part of our discussions of The Martian by Andy Weir.
All right, so great. I think we're all here. This audio looks good, or should I say the video looks good? And then I can see the two pink microphone covers, so that makes me very happy. All right, Mike, do you want to start? Kurt? Should we introduce ourselves, I guess? I don't know.
Hi, I'm Kurt.
I'm Keith. And that's
I'm Mike. It's me.
Because he does not like to talk. All right. So let's just say that I do want to put this in perspective. We are coming hot off the heels of reading Ready Player One. And this book, to me, was very different.
I agree.
And yet they came out around the same time. And I think that's why I'm mentioning it.
Well, to start off, it seems a lot less of a screenplay and a lot more, as Mike would appreciate, a lot more showing and not telling. And the fact
Audio
that...
showing.
What's
like
that?
Painting the word pictures. Right?
Yes, painting the word pictures in my head movies.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you completely threw me off track. You know what? I got stuck.
Here's what I'll say. I like what you're saying because in my first note or one of my second notes, it says, "What do you know? I'm in command. I wonder if this log will be recovered, or the rest of the crew will die of old age." And then I was saying, you know what? It seems like the crew left without him. Like that's the kind of thing that I saw in here was he told the story without telling the story. He didn't say it directly and outright. It was you kind of had to infer what was happening. And I like that because at the beginning it was one of my first thought was like, man, this guy must have been a real big jerk and these guys just left him here, right? And then as you go on, you realize he wasn't. Or, or maybe that was my I guessed that might have been the case.
What I was thinking when you first realized that he was stranded, you're like, my idea was, I mean, he's already a good-humored individual, and he's come to accept his situation, and he's just trying to deal with it the best he can.
Mm-hmm.
My notes are very, very scarce. It says, left behind, mild sarcasm, and jokes enough to keep it lighthearted.
Mm-hmm. He's got to survive.
So what do you think, Mike?
I think from Pink Microphone too.
I watched the two of you go in slow motion for about 20 seconds and then do super fast animation, and then Kurt's voice got higher pitched to speed up and compensate with whatever weird delay and time stretching was going on.
There's no time stretching going on here, my friend. Everything
was real intense on this side.
Super copacetic.
Pond.
Well, I think it's going to be okay. So let's.
I didn't hear every third word.
Okay, you're the worst.
What does this have to do with me?
Are you going on Wi-Fi or are you plugged in?
I'm on Wi-Fi.
So am I.
It's a service.
No.
The service doesn't have plugged-in internet without a dongle.
All right.
It seems to be okay now.
Okay, good. I'm really glad.
Yeah.
So the book starts off definitely in this diary format in which somebody's leaving their logs of what has happened to them.
Always leaving his logs, all right.
Yes, he is.
I have a question about the diary.
Please talk.
Is he dictating it or writing it?
Now, at first you don't know. I want to say that later on, oh man, he mentions that they have laptops and that they are like filling out information on laptops and things. So I don't know. I don't know if he's dictating it because the technology seems to all be like. Go ahead.
In chapter like 14 or whatever it was, right near the end of what we were reading, instead of just log entry.
Chapter 14, not.
I read 14 as well.
You gotta be kidding me.
So I'm going to talk about the beginning of 14.
No, do not talk.
No.
No, I won't, but you could read the very first word and you would know what it is. Instead of just log entry, the first one in 14 says audio log transcript.
Yes, I do see that.
So, like, again, you don't even have to read anymore. I mean, I will spoil it later, but...
No, I as a matter of fact, it was open to that page. Yeah. The
So,
other ones
like,
do say log entry, though. All the other ones say log entry.
So it implies they're not just audio logs. So then, are they video logs, or is he typing?
Well, now, I want to say at the beginning of 14, he was trapped, right? At the beginning of 14, he was in the suit. So all the other previous ones were him, like, writing down his notes after the day is done and him, like, explaining what he was doing. This seems to be...
I mean, it could be video. That'd be the only other thing.
Oh, yeah, it could be.
I would be surprised if he just started to write out the F-bomb, because it seemed a bit too casual for a written dictation. Yeah. A written dictation.
It sounds... I think it sort of can't be either in a weird way. Like, it's way too... Like you're saying, Kurt, like that casual, it's very talky, you know, it's like conversational. But on the other hand, it has stuff that a video transcript wouldn't have, like punctuation. So there's one thing he says, like, the hab was intact. And then it says in parentheses, yay. And any sort of dictation would not know to put that in parentheses and put a yay, you know.
Well, when I was only listening to the audio, and the way it was read out was, oh, and this happened. He went, yay, and actually, like, voiced it out. So maybe it was just his own thought process in combination with the audio log.
But, but he has to be typing it, right? That's the only way.
For the regular logs.
Yes.
Yes. I do think he is typing it for the regular.
He's too conversational. He's like way too self-aware.
No, I think he needs to be conversational. This is the thing. Like, and again, I think this is part of the storytelling. So part of the storytelling is him being conversational, partly because he's alone. He's on Mars. Like, this is probably the scariest possible scenario, is being left absolutely alone with everybody thinking that you're already dead. So nobody's coming to rescue you. Nobody's going to find you. So, you know, when you sit down, you have to have a conversation, and it's like a sanity check for him. Now, they even talk about a little bit about him, who he was as a character, and they referred, like the crew refers to him, and he doesn't seem like he's the average Joe when it comes to, or like, you know, the really strict, like, you know, commander type person. He's sort of like a goof.
Powers.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, I think that was, to me, his character is, I have to survive. I'm going to write in this very, like, Twitter-esque or, you know, like blogging sort of style, because I'm having a conversation here because I'm alone, and I need to have a conversation with somebody. And so I'm going to have this conversation with, like, people in the future because I might be dead.
It sounds like, yeah, but it sort of sounds like the kind of person who's done free writing or something. Because sometimes that's fine, and you want to, he's, like, they talk about how he's silly and he makes jokes when he's nervous, right? But the very first, Soul 6 was, it blew up on Soul 5 or something, right? Or 4 or 6, whatever it is. Soul 6, he writes his first thing and he says, blah, 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 blah. Let's see, where do I begin? And he writes out, let's see, where do I begin? Why would he write that?
Yeah. But that's not bad. I don't.
It was enjoyable to read,
right?
And so I will. I'll let the reveal go here. Is that I really like this book so far. So, like, this is not. I'm not going to sit here and dump all over this one. But, like,
I'm trying.
This was one thing that bothered me at the beginning.
I don't want to, like, jump back too much, but I'm kind of I'm trying to see where there are instances where the book, it does the log, but then it's almost like the narrator jumps in, like it's like the narrator, like him as the narrator saying it, and then there's other things that are typed.
Well, it
switches
between the logs and what's going back out on Earth, which is a different format.
Right. And that was like chapter 5 or something, which honestly, that was when I started really liking the book. Because everything before it was acceptable, like it was fine and I wasn't hating it, but then it had the contrast finally. And then like the drama quadruples there too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When they finally find out that he's alive because of the pictures they took, and everything before that was cool, but then that, and necessary, because without it there's no gravity to the situation, you know, like you need those 4 chapters of him kind of like going through details of how he's solving it and all this stuff, and then when they find out he's still alive, it was like, there was a moment I was like, I don't know if I said it out loud, but I was thinking, wow, this is amazing. You know,
nice.
This is incredible. Like, what would they really do if this happened? Like, oh, we can't take pictures of the landing site because we're gonna see his body, and then it's all public information.
Right,
like,
that was kind of
awesome,
neat.
you know?
Yeah, like that was kind of a neat thing of like, and you can feel the tension. Or at least I did when I was reading it. Of like, man, if they don't do this, then they're never gonna see him. But you know, like, and for some reason, my brain never said, but if it's a book, stupid, of course they're gonna let you see. You know, like, but no, they got me.
It's like those movies where, like, those romantic comedies where the two people, like, they always pass each other on the street. There's like those near misses type of situation.
Exactly
it was
what I was
that kind of
when I was reading it.
Weird analogy, I know, but
I thought John Cusack was there. They were.
And then they drive through the glass that they're holding. They're walking by with the glass,
smash into each other.
Okay.
And then
the fruit cart
and then they wake up and it was all a dream
in Seattle.
So, can I talk before we get into some of the drama? I wanted to go back a little bit to the beginning because, funny enough, I really enjoyed the beginning part. Because this book reminded me, the beginning really reminded me a lot of The Mysterious Island by Jules Verne. And because it showed a lot of science that's like real science, and they use it to like show this character's kind of like depth and understanding. Nice. Because in The Mysterious Island, when they get shipwrecked, they have to like, they end up making like dynamite by like finding gunpowder, like, you know, they finding the saltpeter and like charcoal and this, and they like combine it all together to like blow up part of the mountain or something.
Sounds like an episode of Star Trek.
Right, but I mean, like, I like this, and he like talks about the blood, like, you know, the right at the beginning, like, he talks about like the copious bloods from my wound trickled down towards the hole, and then it reached the breach, and then, you know, evaporated from the airflow and the low pressure, like all those things he talks about. Even when he like takes the laptop outside and the LCD screen like blows up or like just dies because of the atmosphere, and it's like
liquid crystals.
And it was like kind of neat. Like all of that stuff was small enough, but, you know, seemed real enough. Like it wasn't like an insane jump in the future. It was more of like, this is in the future.
It painted a picture that you can relate to and visualize.
Right.
It's the thing I thought of immediately. Well, not immediately, but the more I read was, this sounds like Crichton to me. Not in the exact prose style, but in the way that he's done it. Andy Weir has done his research, and he now has brought this near sci-fi thing and made it sound completely believable to me.
Yeah.
Like I buy every inch of this so far. Yeah, I mean, it's a little crazy.
It didn't sound like there was any piece of technology that was outlandish. Everything seemed like it was current.
Yeah,
Nothing seemed futuristic to me.
I thought it was interesting. I was looking at so in chapter 2, I actually I didn't even know at this point if it was a man or a woman. I don't think they said anything up until that point, and it was just interesting to me because it was nice that it made me ask that question. And the thing I thought of is, if this becomes a movie, that kind of goes off. That goes out the window. You wouldn't have that like question because you'd probably hear the narration voice.
Well, they did mention his first name eventually.
No, they do.
The first page of chapter 3, I wrote a note. Yeah. It says, well, that concept is critical to the Mark Watney doesn't die.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that's him.
I said, okay,
like, all right.
He's a dude.
Yeah, I think it's his name.
And
the other thought was that I wrote somewhere was the beginning of the movie, I don't think starts the way the book does. I think it starts with the catastrophe, like Soul 4, the explosion, or
right.
the sandstorm. Just because that's how movies work, you know.
And you would see that explosion that would grip you.
Yeah.
You know.
Or they would show like some prep of the launch, show them like a snippet, like a little montage.
Yeah. I bet it's them working outside doing whatever they're supposed to do, and then the storm starts coming. So they have like a minute of banter or talking to each other, so that we can see who's the captain, what are the relationships. Basically, the flashback that happens in like chapter 10 or something, or 7 or 9 or whatever.
More
I bet you that's
sequentially.
the beginning. Yeah.
So I made the mistake of watching the movie trailer while I was going through this. I was very upset because they showed some pieces of insight that hadn't occurred yet. So I
like him being rescued. Hooray! Like
no, not that.
Don't tell us. I don't want to know.
I don't want to tell you.
Don't confirm nor deny what you saw.
Yeah, but so I recommend don't watch the trailer if you're looking for a complete surprise.
You got
So
it.
Kurt, I watched the trailer.
No, you
Yeah?
didn't?
And I did. I watched it after I got to like chapter 12.
That's about where I was.
I'm sure there's some spoilers that if I watched it a lot and thought about it, I could take out. But otherwise, it seemed like a bunch of generic stuff.
It was
like,
mostly generic, but there was
like,
at least
okay.
one. There was at least one.
What was it?
No, don't.
Keith
Stop
doesn't
it.
want me to say.
I don't want you to say. You stop
Right.
that nonsense.
But the trailer, and I was talking to my wife about this. We both watched it, and she was like, "Oh, it looks neat," and I was like, "You know what? It doesn't look neat to me." The trailer. I was like, and yet also I think it represents the book fine. So I started thinking about how could those two things be true? That I'm really enjoying the book. Yeah, I know the book's better than the movie, but that's not it. I think the reason the trailer kind of fell flat for me was that one, that like I recognize the actors, so I know it's fake. You know, like if it had a no-name cast, I might have bought into it a little more. But who's the lead? Kurt? What's his name?
It's Matt Damon, right?
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
I saw it on
like
the book
just-
cover.
I
so.
keep thinking
I'm
it was
gonna go
Mark
back to the book
Wahlberg because the
cover.
main character's name is Mark, and I just wanted to make that connection.
Right. But to see him like with the space suit and stuff, I'm like, oh, all right. Like I don't have the buy-in. Plus, it's just a trailer, right? I'm
so
not
Matt
sitting there
Damon
watching
plays
the whole
this main
movie.
character?
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems a bit
I
too
would have
soon
rather had
after
him be a no-name.
Interstellar. Because he played.
I
he
never
played
saw
another
that movie.
astronaut.
Oh, he was in that movie?
I
thought that was
Matthew
What's his
McConaughey.
name?
All right.
yeah,
all
Matthew
right.
McConaughey.
Yes, it was
Mark
starring Matthew
Wahlberg?
McConaughey, but when they went to one of the planets, who was there?
Matt Damon was on one of the other planets? This is a spoiler. I haven't seen this movie
Yeah.
yet.
It's a spoiler
okay.
cast.
He was in the
Welcome
movie.
to the
That's all you
spoiler
really need to know. You don't have to tell. I don't have to
Where
tell
we
you anything
watch,
else.
we read books, we watch trailers, and we talk about movies that have nothing to do with
For
it.
other movies.
It has somewhat of a relation. Okay, a
Oh,
bit
no,
of a
it's
tangent. Let's
absolutely.
get back on. Let's get back on
Absolutely.
track.
Keith, write down the time code. It was at 18 minutes that Kurt spoiled Interstellar.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to
So
go right
you can-
back and fix that.
Cut it out. And then the other thing, just to we'll wrap up the trailer here, but the other thing was that no matter how good like the Hollywood effects are and stuff, the fact that of him typing into this computer, all of that stuff in your imagination is better than no matter how good the effects can be, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
they're
so
gonna-
it still looked fake.
I would hope
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't rely too heavily on CGI.
I think
They're
lot
not
of
going to
this,
film on location, I'll tell you that much.
No, a lot of this movie is, or this book is it's character. You know,
Yep.
like it's not there. There are near the very end, anyways, some spectacular moments, but most of it's like him sitting there thinking.
All he does is work. He takes old feces, rehydrates them, and smushes them around on the floor. Like that's what he does.
Fertilizer doubling or whatever it is.
And what it just makes me laugh every time I think about it. It's just him like smearing, everything all over the floor, and then mixing it up. And he's just
Sorry
like,
about the
to
dog
get used to
barking.
the smell.
He's a botanist.
Yeah, I guess so.
Bow before my botany powers. I thought that line was really funny.
So there's one thing that's been a disappointment so far, and I don't, or maybe I need to reread.
Yeah.
But I thought the log structure could have a real interesting opportunity to have the reader imagine what happens between the space of the logs, you know? So, like, he writes down or records or whatever it is, a log, and then, like, sometimes a day or two passes, sometimes more.
Yeah.
And then he does another one. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to see, like, not just emotional changes, but hints at, like, there's all this stuff that goes on in between that he's not always going to write about everything, you know? So, like, maybe he's covering up for the fact that he is losing hope, and it reveals it through, like, him overdoing it in his logs and trying to sound more hopeful, but he's not, or, like, we have to see through him or something. That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah.
It hasn't done it yet, but it was funny that literally 2 pages after I thought of that, I was like, oh, maybe they'll do this, you know? They had a really on-the-nose emotional change and using the log days changes for effect, and it was hell yeah, I'm a botanist, fear my botany powers. Next day, ugh, this is backbreaking work.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, oh, okay.
Ugh.
Like, it was like real in my face, and again, it's fine, and I really do like basically all of the log structure stuff has been awesome, but it's an opportunity they haven't used yet, you know?
As you were saying that, it made me think that, like one of the scenes that they should in the movie to convey something like that might be you see him, like, you know, it's like almost like a far shot. He's crying, like in the corner of the hub or hab or whatever, and then like they zoom in on him, and then he like wipes away everything, like shakes it all out, and then starts typing. Like that would convey that, like, you know, like you see this,
the internal struggle.
He's breaking down, but like, when he goes to do the log, he's like, all right, you know, I got to like focus. I got to study because this is like, this is the face I want to leave behind, or this is like the you know, the person I want other people to see. But you've got to imagine, you know, like the goal is like 4 years of living in your own feces and planting potatoes. Yeah. This is like a rough like idea.
He's really one note so far. Like, there isn't any internal struggle. But, however, and this is what kind of makes us think of this, I think, is that we only know that through what he tells us, though. Right. So maybe he's only
because he's filtering out
side.
whatever he wants to say in the logs.
So I'll be very curious to see in the second half if they make use of that at all. Like, if he reveals that there were a lot of dark times, or, you know, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and he stops filtering. He just kind of dumps it all out.
Or when he gets home or something, he reveals it to his wife or something. I don't know. I don't know how it goes.
If he gets home, we don't know.
I don't know.
I
would imagine that he doesn't have a wife, considering that, like, when they have... So, again, like, I guess, spoilers if you don't want to know this, but, like, when they do finally get in contact with him, he's not sharing any... He said... He mentions that he gets some, like, family mail, but he never mentions a wife or children or anything like that. And it seems like...
I bet you he doesn't have one.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Either that or maybe he's avoiding that discussion as well. Maybe. I mean, if he's in that much of a filter mode, he may be avoiding any topic that could be emotional.
Could be. It does. I forget where it said it, but he does get sarcastic and witty when he's nervous, right? It said that at one point.
That's up actually on the screen right now. It says, yeah, this all sounds like a great idea with no chance of catastrophic failure. That was sarcasm, by the way.
Right.
And I wrote, like, very conversational, shows a sense of loneliness. Like, but you're right, maybe that's the nervousness thing. That was chapter 5, just so you know.
My notes are not very well structured.
No, I think I took Mike's advice this time, and I did the Google Play version, and I was using, like, and as I was reading it on the Nexus 7, I, like, pressed the button, and I just, like, highlighted the text, and then wrote the thing next to it, and so it saves it to your Google Drive. So, like, I'm just looking at
the next book that we do, I'm just going to actually read it rather than listen to it. Because I don't remember when.
Forget watching these trailers and just trying to pretend.
No. It's not even with the trailer.
We're talking about Interstellar, right?
To it, I can't visualize chapter structure.
Yep.
I don't know how things are written down. If I hear a list dictated, I don't know how it's written now.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's hard to actually break it up.
Except for when Will Wheaton was reading that other book.
That was actually very difficult because they kept listing the scoreboard over and over again, and it just became dumb. I couldn't skip it.
It was just a loop track, like the scoreboard.
I had a question for the audiobook.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I didn't read it.
It's jumping ahead a little bit to a part that I really liked.
What chapter?
How do I tell?
It's written in by chapters.
11. No, I know. I had to go back to find it though. So chapter 11.
Yep.
It's when he finally got the what was the name of the other rover that he went and got?
Discovery?
Something like that. I thought it was something different, but whatever it is, he goes out and gets that rover, and all it has is a camera. This was the coolest part of the whole thing, I thought, was that then they've got to figure out how to communicate with him by just being able to move a camera,
Right.
which is awesome. So he puts the ASCII stuff all around
Yep.
it. So I wondered, how did it sound in the audiobook when it conveyed what NASA was telling him? So in mine and Keith, what we read, it said, spell with ASCII 0 through F at 21-degree increments. We'll watch camera starting at 11 my time, wait 20 minutes, repeat process at every hour. And then the response from NASA was status, but it says S ... T ... A. Did it just say status? Do you remember that?
They didn't read out ellipses. They just vocalized the pauses.
So it was like S, T,
Right.
A. So okay, that's not too bad. That whole part was so cool though.
Yeah, when they were further on, when they were actually telling him the code or the hack to do to the
Right.
to the whatever the vehicle,
Flashing that firmware.
Yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't the Discovery. What the heck was it?
not important.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
So when
Sojourner.
they were just
Sojourner?
reading
Yes.
Yeah.
when I was listening to that part of it, it was very difficult to understand exactly what it is that they were trying to convey, because a lot of it seemed shorthand.
Yeah.
To reduce the amount of text that had to be conveyed.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
just listening
And it's
to it,
easier
not
to
being able
see
to
it.
see it,
Yeah.
it was very difficult because I couldn't really interpret it.
I thought along the same lines too. I liked how Watney, the main character there, he thought of, hey, if I get the Sojourner or whatever, like the rover, I can put the things on the wheel. They can spin the wheel. Like that was the thing that he thought of first, and then the thing was broken. So then he went to the ASCII thing, and then like NASA was like, hey, we should probably do this wheel thing. Like that was like where they were going, like eventually too. And I liked how like it's just like the multiple solutions, and this is why you have smart people in a room, right? Like smart people in the room are like looking at all the available things, and it's like, what are the possible solutions to this problem? And he had thought of, and this is another like great part of the logs, was he was telling us that he was preparing for this journey, and he was testing everything and going out and doing this stuff, and they're all like, no, don't go to the other landing site, it's not good. And then he doesn't go to the other landing site, but we all don't know that. And then he just happens to go to the Sojourner thing, and they're like, oh yeah, he's so smart. Like I like how that wasn't in the logs or the logs that we saw. It
was a good use of point of view switching.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
To hide that piece of information from
Right.
us and then increase the suspense.
It was great. And it made you feel like, oh, great. Yeah, like you're right. There's probably a lot of things that we don't know from his logs of what he's thinking or doing because he didn't write it down. Or we weren't privy to that particular log because you're right. The point of view switched.
I was really nervous he was going to brick the whole thing when he did the update. When he flashed it. I was like, that's it? It's not going to work anymore?
one mistake and he's going to be all done.
Right.
So did it really take until chapter 12, I'm looking at this, that when they finally did the flashback to the incident?
Yes,
So
it was. You're right.
That is a long, for us reading up to chapter 14, or some of us farther, it was a long time to give that flashback, because he talks about it a little bit, and what I also like is it seems that the flashback was true to what he said it was. Like it didn't seem like he made up or like exaggerated anything. It seems like when they played it back, that playback was pretty much what happened. They were walking out, he gets hit by the satellite. They he's got to be around there. The person looked for him, but all the signs were dead. Like all the vitals were down.
And so the question is, why include the flashback? And the only thought I have is that they really stressed that the captain, whatever her name is, like wouldn't leave and like all
Right.
that stuff.
She
So
felt
she's got to
guilty.
get in trouble. She's gonna get arrested later or something, right? Like she's gonna get in trouble.
Oh, well, I
know
think
they're already pushing for it.
they're
NASA.
they're
or
already
whatever, so-
telling us that like don't tell the crew because they're going to do something bad. The crew, as we find out in the later chapter, are happy. She is not happy. So it's
But
like
that's because she has a good conscience, though, right? And NASA's already looking into like a review of her practice of what she did, her decisions. And Mark is like, "Listen, I'm not testifying against her. Screw you guys."
right.
So I think
Oh, see, that's interesting.
like,
I thought
I think
of
it's
that.
a big deal.
I thought of that, but I thought it was more of along the line of like you're going to either see this character like just deteriorate based on this, or they're going to do something stupid like as they're coming back. Like she's going to like try to turn it around, or she's going to try, like this doesn't make any sense, but like I can see like now the rest of the crew might be in danger for the return trip.
It seems like they're making her a very sympathetic character. Like we feel bad for her because she tried her best, she made the right decision, and yet still NASA's going to review what she did and like all
Right.
this stuff. I don't know.
No, I agree with you. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, I like that there's open possibilities.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump around a little bit.
Sure.
Now, when they were back at
Get up and get
NASA,
up and get down.
and there was a bunch of communication going back and forth between the different leaders there, was there any mention of their ethnicity that you're aware of?
No, not that I remember. or
Yeah,
recall.
nothing I remember.
I asked because in the audiobook, for some reason I'm completely blanking on the names of these guys. But one of the guys has an Indian accent.
Yeah, Venkat.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So his name,
Yeah.
sure.
so it makes sense. So
Okay.
in the dictation, in the reading, he actually provided a different voice for each different character, so it made it a lot easier to determine who was speaking. Obviously, if it's written out, it's broken up in a way that you can understand. But at least to compliment the guy who read the book, I think it did a really great job because he always had a different amount of light in his voice depending on what he was reading. Plain text, the logs, people's dialogue, things like that. It just, you really separated it out well, and it was very easy to follow.
Nice.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. Yeah, because I will say that a lot of times when I'm reading, especially if I'm interested in the book and I'm excited and I start reading faster, I don't always like attach dialogue to characters sometimes. Like I just keep reading because I want to know where the story's going. So yeah, I don't necessarily always think of like that. Like everybody's pretty much a generic person to me, and I'm just like, yeah, this person, like that, they're just like the placeholder for this part of the plot. So I want to know what they're going to say, and I know what they're going to add to the story. But it's interesting you say that because, like, yeah, I didn't even think of, like again, the only time I thought of even gender was just at the beginning. Was, I wonder if they're going to tell us like the gender when like that was, because it just seemed it was absent.
I wonder if that back at NASA or wherever they are, there was that one woman who was kind of like low on the totem pole, and she was the one
discovered-
watching
yeah,
the
yeah.
camera.
Right.
Yeah,
And they made her
and
like
yet
a
they
lead.
brought her up.
Yep.
Yeah, they brought her up to the meetings. I wonder if she's going to be important at all. Like it seems
Oh,
like they
yeah.
spent enough time on her that maybe.
And she's now in these meetings. This definitely
Yeah.
it has the look of like a '90s, like sort of like catastrophic. Like it's Armageddon, like all those like kind of movies where it seems like she's put in a pivotal spot where they brought her up from the ranks. She's in the meetings with the big wigs, the people who are like making all the decisions, and she's gonna do something like that because they even said like what's she doing here. And it's like, well, she's the one who discovered him. It's like, oh, big deal. She like looked at a picture, and it's like, no, you don't understand. She like actually figured things out, which yeah.
Yeah, I like the fact that not only did they give her credit, but they kind of imposed her abilities. Is that, I don't even know if that's the right way to put it.
That's just Keith's face.
I think it sounds
He's such
great.
a goon.
They the way that they stop it.
I didn't say anything.
I know your face.
I'm like trying to look at the webcam, but then I like have to look down at the pictures too. So this is the worst.
The fact, well, the way that they gave her credit for her accomplishments in the face of the discrediting bigwigs, was really well done, and I just like the way they did it. You know, she, like you said, she was low on the totem pole. She didn't have any authority, but she went above and beyond, found this key piece of information, potentially saving, you know, Mark's life, and they're recognizing her accomplishments and making her a lead in, you know, for the future of this whole project.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm definitely excited. I want to.
What?
Is that the video? No,
That's the
stop it!
trailer.
I don't want to see that. I don't even like the
Don't
reflection
look
of
at
myself in here.
Don't look
I'm
at
not
it.
Oh man. So I'm excited to read the rest of this book. Is what I have to say about this.
Yeah.
Me
Man,
too.
chapter 14 is gonna blow your mind.
I do think chapter 13, though, by the way, was like I was not expecting that. Like I saw they started to show you the pieces of like the airlock like starting to stretch, and you know like the narrator actually came in and started telling you this versus the right, because I don't think it was it a like.
No, it was narration. It was in italics.
It said like AL 102 stretched, not much, only 4 inches. And then I wrote down like, is this from a report after the fact? And then I wrote, is the airlock going to give, and he just doesn't know it?
I knew for sure it was going to give.
No,
just
you
because
knew
it was there.
You knew it was going to give, but I guess like that's the like. And I'm going to look at the picture. It's all you're right. It's all in italicized. It shuddered in the brutal storm, withstanding forces of greater than it was designed for. It doesn't sound like what Whitney or Wadey, whatever
Mark
his
Watney.
name is. It doesn't sound like him saying it, but maybe it's just the narrator.
It's definitely not him. You're right. Italics makes it weird to be the narrator, but also the voice of it sounds a little weird.
It's like it's very clinical.
For being like if it's a government,
right?
Someone analyzing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the very beginning of chapter 13, I mean, it's not too far, but it's a little bit casual, you know?
But it says, every time the astronaut used the airlock, the strain on AL-102 relaxed, then tightened anew.
But like, so here it says, there was talk of triple shifts. If NASA increased their order again, no one minded. The overtime pay was spectacular and the funding was limitless.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a government review. Could it be the company trying to defend themselves? I don't know.
I don't remember this part.
Woven carbon
this was
thread
in chapter
ran
13?
slowly through the press. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes.
Very beginning of 13 and throughout, it jumps back and forth between Watney's logs.
Yeah, at the beginning of 13, it says the employees of Deo Plastics worked double shifts. You're right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It seemed. I thought of them like showing me like a video as if I'm like touring the facilities, and they're like, we've put like extra layers of polymer. They've heated it to 116,000 degrees. The glue, you know, like it says all these things, and then it's
sounds like
like
a documentary of the making of.
right. But then it's like, hey, it wasn't supposed to be like this. The astronauts put it together the right way, but this pressurization and depressurization, you know, it's just
and
too
it's
much.
like sheet AL-102 had a hole perfectly sized for airlock 1. So it's like they're talking about the sheet that came out of the factory.
Right.
It's interesting to be so specific. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe we'll find out at the end.
They
of
even
an
say,
inquiry.
yeah, like it's so weird. Like they talk about the plane flying higher because they wanted to ensure a smoother flight. Like it's very specific. You wonder if the ending of this book is that like it's the legal now, like who's to blame, because this is my thinking is everyone's dead. This Johansson lady turned around. She like crashed it. Like Whitney died. Whitey dies. Whatever his name
Whitey?
is. Everybody dies.
Whitey.
And they're sitting there saying like, who's to blame? And like, you know, then the trial starts and it's like, wasn't us, you know, it wasn't NASA, it wasn't, you know, like the people who made the Mylar sheath or whatever it's called.
I wonder if they're going to incorporate
the prose
judicial
doesn't match though. But
I agree with you. It's just
yeah.
because and it also later on switches out of the italicized on I don't know if the pages are the same, but for me it's page 116, and it says airlock 1 slowly depressurized to .006 atmospheres. Watney wearing an AV suit stood inside. You know, like it sounds like the same style,
Yeah.
but it's right after he did an entry log. So I don't know.
So in chapter 14,
No, don't.
The,
We can't
uh,
talk about 14 yet.
Cut off.
I read the first part, and that was it.
I didn't even. As soon as the guy said chapter 14, I stopped.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I turned the page,
I hit the stop button.
You know, we'll have to put a explicit warning on this video since
It
there's
is
all
quite
sorts of
explicit.
curse words in the background now. So yeah, I'm excited to read the rest of this. I want to go and finish it up to see where it goes. But
did we mention that it's Apollo 13 yet?
They did make a reference to it, but yeah. It
No,
does
but I mean,
feel
like,
it.
what is this?
Well, they were
Andy
making
Weir?
references
Oh, that's
to
the book.
Yeah.
I had
They
no
were
idea
making
what you're
references.
showing. Sorry.
Shut up.
So
They were making
I think they were
references
making
to Apollo
references
13.
to Apollo 13.
The mission, not the movie, right? But
Right.
my enjoyment of this is a combination of my enjoyment of the movie Apollo 13 and Michael Crichton books.
I like that you had mentioned that because I didn't think of the Michael Crichton aspect. Again, I was thinking of the Jules Verne kind of like connection,
well, it works,
but it's the same. The Crichton aspect I like because you're right. It's more modern and it's not like it's fresh. I think when Jules Verne did it, it was more of like, this is new. Science is new. Like, this is exciting. Like, look at all the cool things we could do. You know, the Crichton version is more of like, here's all the information that these specialists know that would like help them. Like, we would all be screwed. We wouldn't be able to do this. But like these specialists, they're awesome. They can do these amazing things. So, all right. So, Kurt, you want to drop us out of here and
Then said, "All right, you know I have to ask, what's going in his head right
oh,
now? How does a man like Mark
why would you want to listen to this? Stop it.
listen like this?
I just wanted you
who's
guys to
reading
hear
that?
a sample of what it sounded like.
Yeah.
Kurt, you want me to start reading chapter 14 and then you can listen to this later?
No, that wasn't chapter 14. I went back to a previous
No,
bookmark.
he was-
No, but I mean, I could be your recording though. You know what? No, I'll stop there.
All right. So, anyway, Kurt, bring us out.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Idiot Cast. Please check out our website at the Dusty Tomes. What?
Oh, I was just being excited.
Just
You were doing well.
thank you. And thanks for the distraction. Please check out our
into it,
website at dustyoldtomes.com. And please check us out on YouTube and Google+. See you next time.
Or listen to you next time. Depending if you listen to the audio version of this. All right, goodbye.
Bye!